Ooh. Hello, everyone. We are here today to review two movies. I was going to review Candyman on its own originally, and then I was supposed to record it last night, Friday night. It's currently August 28th, Saturday morning, after my work shift. It's almost noon. It's literally about 11:55. It's about to be noon. I was going to record Candyman on Thursday night to upload it Friday night, and then instead I was like, all right, I forgot to do it. I had shit to do on Friday, so I was kind of busy, so I went to bed early Thursday. And then I got scheduled on Friday for work at 5 a.m., so I went to bed super early, didn't record that night. I'm home alone right now in the morning, so I have time to review two movies, because I managed not only to watch Candyman in theaters, in the Dolby Theater, which was, by the way, if you could see it in the loudest theater possible, probably would be the most fun. Impactful score, jump scares, loud shit like that always is fun. There's not many jump scares, believe it or not, but just loud shit like that is always fun to see, like, in the loudest, biggest theater you can. So I recommend that. But I also had a chance to check out the new Hulu film starring John Cena and Lil Rel Howery, called Vacation Friends. Written by, weirdly enough, the people who did the remake of Vacation, but also those are the people who directed Game Night. So you're kind of going both ways, like, oh, fucking absolute shit comedy, but one of my favorite comedies of all time, like Game Night. We'll see what happens. I was cautious on that one, by the way, and I'll probably review Vacation Friends first, because Candyman's the real review that we'll build to. So Vacation Friends is on Hulu right now. It's from 20th Century Studios, not 20th Century Fox, as it's been called the past however many months it's been 20th Century Studios. I don't even remember now. And it's dropped straight on Hulu. I would be curious to know if this was original. It had to have been a theater release. I haven't done much research on the film, because I believe when it was first announced that he would be in a film called Vacation Friends, John Cena. I remember seeing that. It never said it was going to theaters or not. And then out of nowhere, it just is a trailer reveal for it on Hulu. So it means it must have been going through the mixes, and then they were like, all right, you know what, we could sell this one to Hulu. It's not one of our big films, is probably what Fox was thinking. I actually don't know. I think it would have been smart to put it in theaters, maybe, and then have do a thing like in theaters for exclusively for like 3 or 4 weeks, do like a Universal thing, and then throw it at home. I don't know. Disney controls Fox now. Fox is 20th Century Studios, so they probably just said, fuck it, put it on Hulu. It's one of our R-rated films. So yeah, like an R-rated film from Fox would go on Hulu. That makes more sense now that I think about it. Since Disney's running everything, they wouldn't put it on Disney Plus if it's R-rated. This is a raunchy, R-rated comedy about two people played by Lil Rel, and I don't know who plays his wife. I knew every other actress in this, an actor, but I didn't know who played his wife. I probably should have looked it up before this review. Basically, they are going to have a vacation together. Lil Rel is going to propose to her there, and a bunch of fucked up shit happens on that vacation. Their room gets flooded. The proposal is spoiled by just the guy who works the front desk. I don't even remember the guy's name now, but he works the front desk. He spoils that he was going to propose. So then he does propose to him, and of course the crazy people who are on a jet ski outside, fucking smoking weed while on a jet ski, going super fast, jumping up and down. John Cena and his wife, played by, is her name, I've seen her in stuff. I believe it's Meredith Hanger, I believe is her name. They are outside going fucking crazy on a jet ski. Of course, they're the people who see them when they're getting proposed, and they were like, oh no, you have to stay with us, you can join us in our room, we have the fucking presidential suite, the giant-ass one, presidential suite. And you find out that their room was the hot tub room that flooded into the the other room, which was the room that they were going to get flooded. So of course they stay with them. And the idea is that they spend their whole vacation with these two. I only remember John Cena's character name is Ron. So Lil Rel and his wife stay with Ron and his wife. And they're fucking nuts. They do drinks, but they put cocaine on the edges instead of salt. They take shrooms, drink tons of alcohol. They fucking shoot bottles off the top of people's heads. They're just insane people. But they do become friends with them. They genuinely have a fun time. Then once they run off with them in the first 30 minutes, it cuts 7 months later, we find out that Lil Rel and his wife are actually going to have a real wedding. And the wedding starts going off normal. It has that cliche trope of like, ooh, the mom is nice and respectful of Lil Rel, but Lil Rel's fiance's mom respects him and is nice to him, but her dad does not like Lil Rel. And he kind of goes, it's like the cliche like every movie you fucking see, where it's like, what was it? in like Wedding Crashers when Christopher Walken hates like Vince Vaughn with with Isla Fisher's character, he hates them, or like when any father hates like the main guy of the movie who you're supposed to like root for at the time. It's like it's that cliche. But out of nowhere, John Cena and them show up, even though they're trying to avoid them because they're fucking crazy, and that was just the one time they were gonna hang with them on vacation. They show up, they crash through the fucking gate of their like pre-wedding dinner venue, and they're like, "You son of a bitch! You said you were gonna call us." And then crazy antics ensue where everything that this wife and Ron do, John Cena and his wife, they just fuck up everything for them. There's a lot of twists and turns that they're not telling them about, which cut back to what happened on the vacation. This is stressing Lil Rel, and it becomes just this back and forth, cliche, raunchy, romantic comedy. It's exactly what you're going to expect from the trailer. If you see the trailer and like it, you're going to like the movie. If you see the trailer and don't like it, you're not going to probably like the movie. I was pretty mixed on the trailer. I felt that some jokes were actually really funny, and I'm a huge fan of this cast. Lil Rel and John Cena, like, fuck have they grown on me. Like, Lil Rel was great, and you first see him like in a few small things if you go back and look through time. But then you see Get Out, and you're like, oh, this guy's fucking hilarious. And then he's grown since then. John Cena, I mean, I've always been a fan because John Cena's kind of been a meme culture guy. Like, you know John Cena for the meme. Everyone knows who the fuck John Cena is because of this ever-growing meme of who he is. He's like the best WWE wrestler. He fucking body slams Fred. He's in Fred the movie. But he's grown as an actor, genuinely. Like, since he went from, like, Trainwreck, I was like, alright, he's alright. And then his Sisters, same year of Trainwreck, I was like, alright, he's okay in this. He has some really funny moments in Sisters. He probably has the funniest jokes to me. He's like the guy who sells drugs. He has like fucking 3,000 different drugs. Like shit that I'm pretty sure is not even drugs. At one point, you need to watch just that scene if you could find John Cena attempting to sell Tina Fey and Amy Poehler drugs at a party in Sisters. Not a great movie, but he's in that. Bumblebee, Playing with Fire, whatever the fuck it is. But then this past year, he had F9. His character was boring because they give him nothing to do, but I think if they gave him something to do, he'd be a pretty good, serious character, because I saw him in the Suicide Squad this year. Not only can he handle crazy, antic action, goofy, dickhead, douchebag type comedy, raunchy comedy as well, like he did in Blockers. He's amazing in Blockers too, besides the few emotional moments near the ending, but he is really good. I think with this and Suicide Squad on his resume, these two things, I think he's going to be possibly considered for lead actor material for comedies or action comedy. Like, he's going to grow to that. I'm not saying he's The Rock yet, but I like him personally more than The Rock. I really love John Cena. I mean, look, shit, I'm wearing a shirt with John Cena on it. Where's he at? Peacemaker. Somewhere on here. I'm just blind. Is he at the bottom? Peacemaker, where are you? I don't see you. Well, I guess it's ironic I don't see him. John, you can't see me. There he is. He's right here, actually. Little helmet, two figures, Peacemaker. Whatever the fuck it is. This film had a lot. I told a friend, I was like, I don't think you're going to like this movie, knowing you. And he was probably like, oh, why? Like, I don't think the reason, and most people probably will get mixed reviews on this, is it's a lot of jokes do not land. There's a lot that I'm like, that's fucking unfunny. It's kind of boring at times. That second act of the movie is a rough one. I think the third act has some really funny moments between John Cena and Lil Rel. And their stuff is hilarious. Anytime they're on screen together, I find the movie to be funniest. When it's on the wife stuff, it feels like they give John Cena's wife quite a lot to do, but they give Lil Rel's wife nothing other than like the reactionary character. Anything that impacts Lil Rel has to impact her story arc. She doesn't do anything. Like, there's a sequence in just saying this to be fair. There's a scene where we'll show Lil Rel dealing with something that's genuinely fucked up to the wedding, like losing the wedding rings that are handed down from his fiance's father to him, and they're the great-grandmother's rings, and if they lose them, they're worth so much value to this family, and they're fucking really expensive, and so he has to hold on to them. And then the best man, which is, before John Cena and them show up, he wasn't allowed to invite him friends, is what Lil Rel was told. And so King Batch, which is King Batch, you know King Batch, Andrew Batchelor, his full name. King Batch plays Lil Rel's fiance's brother, and he punched that brother at a previous party that they had, or maybe it was a previous wedding, and he punched him in the face. So Lil Rel and him have like a like an offset thing. King Batch fucking hates him now. He's like, you punch me. And he goes, oh, and I kind of brought like this training guy who could kick your ass if you ever try to do anything to me. Even though they said they could bring friends to the wedding, whatever. He brought one. And so John Cena is like always trying to back him up. So they do a bet with them on a golf course. And it's like $100 for every hole or something. Or was it might have been more than that. It might have been like 1,000. I don't remember what they raised it to. And John Cena's like, yeah, we're going to win. And they lose a shitload of money. And then Lil Rel finds out last minute. He goes, oh, yeah, the reason I have a ton of money, the reason John Cena had a ton of money to gamble for them to do this is because John Cena was, before that scene, was promoted to the best man. And he got to hold on to the rings, even though he didn't trust him. And John Cena fucking sold the rings for a limited time, like loaned them to a pawn shop, like a jeweler shop. And he was like, yeah, we need to get the money back to get them. And it's just a funny antic scene in this golf course. And then they do like a scene where John Cena hits the golf ball super fucking far. It's like, you know when you watched, Happy Gilmore? And you have always, every time he swings, it's always like it was like that kind of swing and that kind of sequence. And of course they get the money by getting this other guy's Ferrari. And now that they have the money, they go back and buy the rings. And then the funniest shit happens with the rings. All the antics between John Cena and him are funny because John Cena plays the crazy asshole who fucks everything up. Even though he's not trying to be mean, he's just a crazy guy who is calm about anything fucked up that happens. Like, his friend could literally choke him to death. Lil Rel starts choking him because they lose the rings later on. And he just dies and he pretty much passes out after Lil Rel chokes him. But he's being nice. He's like, I'm going to allow you to choke me if that's what you want to do, friend. Because John Cena just takes everything so calm and is so nice. But Lil Rel is this guy who's nervous about anything going fuck up. And anything that could go fucked up goes fucked up. With the wife, it's just, they have scenes with her, and it's always her trying to, like, contain John Cena's wife from saying crazy shit, because she'll say shit like, oh what was it? They were having a scene where they're all getting their feet massaged, and one of the women, Lil Rel's fiance's friend, who's like one of her, bridesmaids, she is crying about how she fucking hates her husband and how her husband's so mean to him, and then the John Cena's wife is like, if he ever gets mad at you, you just fucking tap him in the balls, and then everyone's like, all the other women are like, oh my gosh, she's fucked up, and then that's when she pulls her aside. But those are the only scenes you get with them. Their scenes are very minimal, and they don't affect the story at all. It's just to have scenes with John Cena's wife saying crazy shit, and some of those are funny, but it does nothing for Lil Rel's wife. Like, her character, I feel like, is the most backline character, just simply there. But all the funniest scenes, all the important story scenes happen between John Cena and Lil Rel. Probably why they're the main credited people. And they're great. The reason to watch this movie is going to be for the main four cast members, even though I would say mostly John Cena and Lil Rel have all the funniest moments. But it's just something. That second act is rough. There's like a good 30-minute period where I found myself, I think I chuckled like twice. I was uninterested in everything that happened. Basically, that whole second act is kind of shown in the trailer. Building up to the golf scene, to the ring scene. That ending, I was enjoying the ending in the first 30 minutes, which is just crazy vacation antics when they first meet them. And then the next 30 minutes is like the setup, the real wedding happening, John Cena and them show up. It's all that stuff. And then the craziest shit near the ending. All the funniest scenes are in the third act. There's a joke about a bird shitting that's really funny. Like, that keeps going, and you're like, they're going to keep bringing it back, and they bring it back like 3 or 4 times. And believe it or not, the bird shitting leads to probably the most tragic thing of the movie. So it's really funny. That was a great element to it. Overall, it's not... it's hard to say. Like, it's really actually not that funny. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, an average person sat down and watched this and like, I just didn't laugh. I wouldn't be surprised. I would say 50% of jokes hit really well and 50% fall completely fucking flat. It's very 50-50 what hits. But it's the cast that brings it up. Because it's an average 5 out of 10 comedy. It probably deserves a low score. But this cast is so charismatic and funny. Like, Lil Rel and John Cena lift scenes that I didn't find that funny to being, like, surprisingly funny. And it isn't too long. It's like an hour 35 before the credits roll. They use Run the Jewels, Ooh La La on it. So, automatically a step up for me as the end credits. They use, like, a remixed version. That was cool. I still enjoyed it enough. I liked the concept of, like, John Cena and Meredith Hagner's characters can't have babies because John Cena has, like, problem wrong with his semen. And then he jumps off this high cliff And he's gonna jump off with his balls covered. He's like, I'm gonna protect him because this shit's gonna hurt because it's like a 200-foot drop. And out of nowhere, Lil Rel was like, dude, are you seriously gonna do that? And he goes like, you're right, I'll take my hands off. And then John Cena jumps, and you just hear, whoa. It's like a long ass fall. You don't even hear him land for a while. And then you hear him slam, and he goes, come on. I don't remember Lil Rel's character name. Fuck. He tells Lil Rel to jump. And he's like, but don't remember to cover your balls. And then you find out the big twist of the movie later on is that, like, okay, I'm going to get into spoilers here. This is a big spoiler moment, but I want to explain this joke because I think it's, like, a really funny element. So when they come to the wedding, Meredith Hagner, John Cena's wife, is pregnant. And Lil Rel has, like, little visions of the fact that they had a foursome and he possibly was having sex with John Cena's wife. And as John Cena explains throughout the whole movie, like, oh, we couldn't have kids. And by the way, this baby right here, my wife's baby, is very much related to you. And they keep building it up. They're always vague. There's a lot of things they do even before that scene with the baby, that concept, that not even a scene. It's the whole movie with the baby, like the whole second and third act they build up. Like, what is the baby? Is it Lil Rel's baby? And all that shit. And he cheated on him, like, right as he was about to get married to her. He cheated on his wife and got her pregnant because that would not be cool with the family. And then Lil Rel comes out as they're on stage. John Cena and his wife are giving, like, a speech about how this baby, and then Lil Rel is like, it's mine, it's my baby. Because they're vague, and everything that they've hinted at almost sounds like it'd be his baby. And they're like, no, actually, it's John's baby. Like Ron, John Cena's character. It's his baby, and they were actually, the reason it was related to, I just remembered it now. I literally just remembered Lil Rel's character's name is Marcus, because they're going to name, they found out the baby's a boy, and they were going to name it Marcus after their best friend, Marcus. If it would have been a girl, they probably would have named it Emily, which I think is his wife, is Lil Rel's wife's name. I'm getting them all. I'm finding all the names now. So that's what the element was. And he was like, oh shit. And you find out that from when in the beginning, early on in the movie, when John Cena jumped off a lake and didn't cover his balls, because his balls got slammed so hard, his semen started working again so they could actually have babies. And I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. I don't know why that element was funny. And it's because John Cena's always so calm about it. Like, yeah, whenever I did that giant fall, you told me not to cover my balls. It was all because of you that I could have this baby. And so Lil Rel gets pissed at him because, again, they're very vague. And that's like the friend split moment, you know, where the characters split off, but then you know they'll meet back together and they'll become real friends. And that plot will continue on. Overall, I spent a lot of time on this movie, more than I wanted to, but Candyman's the real way. Just give it to me till we get there. Overall, I didn't hate it. There are some really funny moments. This is a fun movie I could watch. Like, if I had a bunch of friends over, I know that we watch raunchy comedies. We'd probably put this one on because it's got Lil Rel and John Cena, which are a lot of people that a lot of my friends love. It would probably be that type of fun movie, but I couldn't see myself coming back to rewatch this. Good it's on Hulu. It is 20th Century Studios, so I would wonder if they'd ever release a Blu-ray of it. Like, you know that Netflix movie, The Lovebirds, with Kumail Nanjiani and Issa Rae? I'm curious, like, that got a Blu-ray just recently. I wonder if, like, this would be that type of later movie to get a Blu-ray fairly cheap, like $13 to $15, like in a year later from now. If it did, maybe I could see myself getting it for some special features, and I am a big John Cena fan and a big Lil Rel fan, so having it just for them would make sense. But this wasn't a great watch. I'm not going to give this a 7 or an 8 or 9. This isn't a great comedy. I would say it's an average comedy, average okay comedy with a great helping cast, but an anticlimactic. The very ending is a little anticlimactic. Like, it kind of just happens. It's like, oh, it's over. For me, I had fun, though. I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. I feel like an average group, a few of my friends, like the one I'm mentioning, I've talked about him on the channel a few times, Ryder. I think I don't know if he's watched it yet, but I feel like he'll give it like a 5 out of 10. I don't know if he's going to like it, but he swore by me. He's like, I like cringe humor and dumb humor. I'm like, I know he does, but it's a different type of humor. Like, it's like, not cringe humor like, ooh, this is awkward humor, like, ooh, awkward scene. Like, there's that one scene that was funny that I mentioned with the baby and the wedding and that announcement. But, like, I mean cringe humor, like, just the jokes are unfunny. I probably should have just said there's a lot of unfunny jokes that in this movie that just aren't great or cliche. There's a drug trip scene that's basically a ripoff of the 21 Jump Street drug trip scene. Like, I'm not even kidding. It's almost exactly a ripoff. Like, they're looking at someone and crazy shit's happening to them and they're envisioning, like, animals. Like, that stuff happens. Kind of like how it happens in 22 Jump Street. So, those movies do it better, those scenes. 6.5 out of 10. All right, let's get into the real movie, the one that I wanted to talk about, and that is Candyman. 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 I don't have a mirror. Candyman. Candyman. Does a phone? It's flipped. Does it count as a mirror? Am I gonna die? No. I almost filmed the skit with my nephew one night, but he didn't want to because it was like really late. It was like 10 p.m. I was like, "Do you want to go film something really quick?" As like a joke, and he was like, "No, I want to play Minecraft." That's all I wanted to do that night. So that was like last night. I was trying to get it done before I woke up at one point. He was still up. He came over and played Minecraft for like an hour. I slept over it, but I was gonna ask him if he wanted to do something really quick so I could go to bed. He did not want to film a Candyman skit. He just wanted to play Minecraft, so I fell back asleep and went to work this morning. But I had a funny idea where it'd be me in the mirror, and then the lights would start flickering, and then I'd look over and be like, "Who's doing it?" And I would think like Candyman's about to show. I'd be scared shitless, and then I would look and see my nephew doing it, and then it would just end it with me being like, "Oh, what the fuck, you son of a bitch!" And then it would have cut like really quickly. It'd be funny if you saw it in context. Me describing it's probably very stupid. But it would have been funny. I would have liked to have done it. But it's okay. I didn't have a skit for Candyman. Candyman is the newest installment in the franchise, as they're calling it a spiritual sequel, which doesn't mean it's like 10 Cloverfield Lane, where it's like, ooh, it's the spiritual successor. Oh, it's the it's like this a grandiose sequel. Like it's not actually connected, but it's in the same vein as Cloverfield. Like fuck no, that film's not a sequel. It has aliens. It has that green divibbed lighting, and it has the location you find out is called 10 Cloverfield Lane. Not connected to Cloverfield, in my opinion, at all. Still interesting to see that franchise, and it was a really good movie. But Candyman is genuinely a sequel to the first one. I think they're saying spiritual because it's kind of saying that while it's not the main plot of the film and not the exact same tone or look that original film goes for, it is still has continuing characters, continuing themes of those films. So spiritual, I think, is what they meant in that way. Because this is coming quite after the original. The original was released in 1992. I rewatched it. I saw it when I was like 14, and then I decided to rewatch it a week before I went. So I saw it the Thursday before I went to go watch the movie. I saw it on, what day would Thursday be? The 26th. I saw it August 26th. That was Thursday, because today's Saturday. So it means I watched the original on like the 19th of August. Yeah, sounds right. So I watched it on the 19th of August. I quite enjoyed it overall. I thought some elements didn't hold up great, but I thought others did. I've been so between a 6.5 and a 7. I think I would probably say a 7, just because the subtleness of it is very creepy. It stays with me. I'll say that the movie does stick with me in a few ways. There were some really creepy moments in that original Candyman that for me really worked, so I'm going to keep it at a 7 out of 10 as my official score. It was just like some things don't hold up, but a lot of things do keep up with you. And I really do like the cast, and I love Tony Todd. That anytime when that scene in the fucking like parking garage, and you see like the far stand away of Candyman just saying her name, oh my god, that shit is like Helen. Oh, shit creeps me out, but it's really good. Tony Todd's great in the movie, by the way. The original, and now here we are. However many years later, is it even nearly? It's nearly 30 years later, right? That'd be right. Yeah, nearly 30 years later. Nearly. It's like 29, but whatever. If only they waited one more year, we would have been like 30 years later, Candyman type thing. But man, does this movie fucking rock. The main thing I want to get out of the way, the best thing of the movie is the direction, and the main person who needs to get praise for this movie is Nia DaCosta, who did a film called Little Woods. I have not seen. I heard it's great. Small independent film from a few years ago. And her next film is going to be The Marvels with Tiana Paris. I forgot who's playing. I think it's because it's her first time. The girl is playing Miss Marvel. I forgot her name. So it's Tiana Paris, the girl is playing Miss Marvel, and then Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. So, and Monica Rambeau is Tiana Paris, if you didn't know who the actress was, Monica Rambeau. Tiana Paris is in this movie, by the way, and she's given more to do than she probably was in WandaVision as a character and an overall feel. She probably has more screen time in WandaVision overall, because that's a whole show to go with, but she has more to do here. So just so you know, Tiana Paris is great, and I can't wait to see what they do with her, because Nia DaCosta is working with her on The Marvels, which will be the next Captain Marvel movie. Coming next year, I think. So crazy. We'll be seeing them soon. Candyman takes place genuinely when you think it does. Taking place whenever after the original. It takes place modern day. It says 2020 in the film. We're back at Cabrini Green, the fully reinstated sort of block hotel construction area. We're back at Cabrini Green. Looks better. It's like they show all the outside of Chicago, and it like looks grand. Like the way they shoot it looks grand and has like a beautiful landscape. Like it's grown, which is kind of a hint of the first film. Is it kind of looks like shit there, and it's being taken down, Cabrini Green in the original one. To here, it's like a fully new built up place that when you look at it, you're like, oh, it looks way better, and like fucking rich artist people live out here, you know, because that's like the main characters focus on is the art industry type people. And I thought that was very interesting. It definitely brings up with the white art owners and the destroyed buildings and the reestablishing of what Chicago should look like and the rebuilding of Cabrini Green since the original. It kind of is, again, with the message of racism and gentrification, those two elements. I threw out for sure the first two Candymans. I've never seen the third one, but I hear that film is so messy that it really isn't. And it's definitely a message here, one that is verbally said rather than sometimes subtly said. That will be my biggest complaint with the film, and I can get through that right now. They sometimes the message is forceful. It was like when I saw Queen and Slim in theaters, and I went, "This is a great movie," but this message is being like fucking shoved in your face, like in a lot of scenes verbally. It's like shoved in your face what the message is. And sometimes that's good if you have it like happen once, but when it happens in a few scenes, it becomes too much. Sometimes here it becomes too much. Sometimes you have characters who are kind of limited in range. Like there is a gay character in the film, in this one, who provided some funny moments, I'll say, but he is certainly that character to be talking about the cliches of gentrification and racism. He's the guy who knows all about the urban legend at first, but he knows the wrong side of the story of it. So when he tells it to Yahya Abdul-Mateen, the second's character, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, by the way, in this movie, he's fucking excellent. Like a great performance. Like I've always thought he's a great actor. Was he nominated for Trial of Chicago 7? I'm trying to remember. He might have been. Everything he's in he's great. He's kind of returning working with Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele wrote this movie with Nia DaCosta, and I forgot the other person's name. It was 3 writers. Jordan Peele wrote this one, but when he directed Us, Yahya Abdul-Mateen played the father. I'm pretty sure, I hope I'm right about that. He played the father of the little girl. By memory, I'm pretty sure he played the father of the little version of Lupita Nyong'o. And he returns here as our lead character, Anthony, who is an inspiring artist who came to Chicago with his girlfriend, played by Tiana Paris, and she has a ways into the industry to get Anthony shown in public art museums and huge shows and displays. So that's like her thing. And Anthony is trying to figure out his next piece, but he hasn't pieced it together. Then when they have the first opening scene of the movie, when they have dinner with Tiana Paris' brother, who is the gay character, and his boyfriend character, he tells the urban legend story of Helen Lyle, the girl from the original Candyman, and that makes Anthony inspired to do art based around him. But as the more he gets into the story, the more the story comes to him, the more it like personally affects his life, and it becomes this kind of a body horror film at moments, and simultaneously this intense charged message on racism and gentrification and how the neighborhood of Cabrini Green and how that area has never changed and continued to be a story. It is the location of the urban legend, and while the legend at sometimes is forgotten and not talked about due to events that happened in the past, which are all taken as police rumors and stuff, and now that he is trying to spread it to the world with art, people around the world are like doing the Candyman trend, and then there are people who are constantly against anything they're doing, are constantly within their will just doing it, and they're getting murdered. And murders start happening. It's kind of hinted at in the trailer. You see like the girl's bathroom scene in the trailer. That's like one of them. And there's so many great kills. This movie, when it comes to the kills, is very creative, and it is also a very creepy movie. It is very well done. I love films where they don't have to force jump scares or terrifying fucking like lurking moments that'll like show up out of nowhere and be loud and violent. I love when they can build the tension through either sound or something that you think you may have saw but might have not been there. And they do those shots like I think Ouija Origin of Evil does a few of these where there's not many jump scares, but if you look in the background of a scene, you'll like, in just a glimpse shadow, you'll see like something standing there or something looking up. Like there's the scene in Ouija Origin of Evil where the girl's laying in bed and she looks up and she's like, oh, who the hell's pulling my blanket? And then when she looks up, she's fine. There's no one there at her door. And if you look very closely, you just see like the leg of the shadowed person due to the light, barely showing that someone is fucking creepily standing there over the door. it does things like that, where the first time Anthony says Candyman 5 times, and he's with his wife, you're like, oh, okay, they're fine. They're like, after it was a fun joke and they were laughing it off and they started making out and shit like that, and then just barely, if you even notice it in the reflection, it's so minimal, but you can see like half the shadow of the Candyman back reflected, very low lighting, but you can just see him standing there, and it's fucking creepy. And Coleman Domingo's character, who is seen a few times in the trailer, he plays like this guy who knows everything about the town since he's been at Cabrini Green since the 70s, since the shutdown of it and the rebuild when all the gangs were there, even from the first film. He's been living there his whole life, but he hasn't lived in Cabrini Green his whole life, but he knows a lot about it. And one thing I'll say is attention to detail is amazing and important when it comes to film. Attention to detail is so unique and awesome when it comes to film, because there are so many sequences in this movie that without just little details, little moments, you wouldn't go like, oh shit, I didn't pick that up. There's literally a scene where our character of Anthony is just drawing this straight line to the right across like a painting, and then we cut to a building shot of like this tall hotel building, and it's just an establishing shot, and then we eventually go into more of a scene with Anthony, and later a kill happens in the movie that is, I won't spoil the kill, but it involves a line stroke done the exact same way, and I was like, that is so fucking unique. I don't know if that was intentional 100%, but it feels like 100% intentional, and when I saw it, I was like, that is awesome, and unsettling, and will stick with me for a while for how cool it was. Nia DaCosta, the director, had a vision, and that vision is shown so well through here. Even the scenes where some of the messages get too forceful, even the ending where I feel it's a little too quick, a little complicated, how much is thrown in there, it's kind of just thrown in there to be like, oh yeah, shit, this needs to happen because we need to get to the climax of this movie. It needs to start ending and wrapping up. And once it gets to that ending, it's just like, oh shit, like it rushes and happens. Even to the point where, like, Teyonah Parris is with her brother, and the brother character never comes back into play because once he's talking to her, she goes out and does something, and then that leads to the finale, and we're not even addressed back to other characters. It's kind of a quick ending and a complicated one that I got, but it is fast. But just because of the direction, the look, the sound design, the cinematography is fucking gorgeous in this movie. Like, it is beautiful to look at. Every shot is like a painting itself. But damn, it's entertaining too. It's almost like I'm making this sound like a Candyman art house film with a very forceful message on racism. And while sometimes the dialogue is very cheesy, like, it's like on the fucking nose, like, you're like, okay, really? Well, they'll like have a scene like where it'll be like the white woman critic who's like, I think this is talking about gentrification and racism and the reestablishing of Cabrini Green, and I think it's people like you who make it, and then he's like, people like us, and then she's like, yeah, artists, people who have lived in the area long enough to know everything about this and to do the same thing that other people have done. And I'm like, oh my god. The dialogue moments like that where I'm like, it's so on the nose. And Anthony's character, while his Yahya Abdul-Mateen's performance is great, his character is kind of a very a forced-in character. Like, there are scenes where you're like, sometimes you find Anthony unlikable, and sometimes you really love him and feel super bad for him. Especially by the ending, you will feel like shit for Anthony and Teyonah Parris, so it's great that they are our leads, because by the ending you do feel respect and love for them, as you should, the characters in the original film. But I love this movie. I love how it keeps that message of urban legends living on. Like, it's like, you need to have them living on, because if people ever forget about the Candyman, then, like, the whole message of what Candyman was meant to be from the beginning about gentrification and racism and the lead of it, that Candyman isn't just one guy, it's every guy who's dealt with this, every black man who was shot on the streets by cops or taken out just of the system alone. That's what Candyman represented. If it's not obvious enough me saying it, there's a scene where you see in the trailer that Candyman is walking around a police car, and the reflection of the police car is all the different people that we know were affected by it. I'm trying to remember all the names from the first two films. Like, it was like Coleman Domingo runs into the guy who was shot and killed, but he was actually innocent. He was actually just a nice guy who handed out candy to children, and then they were said to have razor blades in it, but he wasn't bad, and he was beaten to death by the cops. There was one that was shot to death by the cops. They showed the reflection of Coleman Domingo as a kid who was scarred by the events that he had seen. And then they show Tony Todd from the original in the reflection, and then, of course, Anthony, who is the one throughout the movie. This isn't a spoiler. Is literally the shot of Anthony in the trailer when he's walking out by the police cars as Candyman. If you consider that a spoiler, like why? It's in the trailer. Like you can watch the trailers and see him growing into Candyman throughout the trailer. I honestly think that that's a big complaint with me is the trailers do give away too much. But it's cool to see that intense growth of Candyman, and it's going throughout time. He is a legend that won't just live on because of the message that he has to say, and if he's forgotten, then what was the fucking point from the beginning? That's just a meaning for racism living on itself, obviously. Obviously, I'm not the one to have a say in it. I'm a fat fucking white guy reviewing a horror movie that just happens to have that message, but at times I found it a little hand-forced. It's like when you find a feminist message hand-forced in a movie and they do it so much that it becomes preppy. Sometimes that happens here, but not too much. It's certainly limited. I thought that the movie was entertaining as fuck. It had some really funny moments. It's so fast-paced. It's violent. It's creepy. There are moments that are genuinely creepy that I'm going to see it again Tuesday with some friends in theaters, and I have a feeling they're going to be creeped out by it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if genuinely, at times, my friends were like, oh shit, they got scared, and they were like, tension building, or covering their eyes. I wouldn't be surprised, because there are some really great moments built in this movie. All the performances are great. Nia DaCosta needs more credit. The ending is a little rushed, and there's some forceful moments in the dialogue. The script could use some work, maybe, is what I would say at the most complaints. But this film's fucking awesome, and I cannot wait to have it on 4K, and to watch it. I wouldn't be surprised multiple more times once I get it. And I'm going to go see it in theaters again, as I mentioned. So clearly, like, I liked it enough to see it in theaters again and get a Blu-ray as soon as it comes out. This film is awesome. So I'm going to give Candyman an 8.5 out of 10. I've been sitting at an 8, but honestly, I loved it. It's one that improves on the original. This is probably the best Candyman film we're going to get. Now, I would love if the message was more subtle, and if it was, it would probably be nearly like 9 to 10 out of 10 range. It would be like nearly perfect. I think it's that message, some of the writing, some of the characters don't get a full establishment. Mainly Coleman Domingo's character and Tiana Paris' brother's character. I think like they were great, but they never grew past what we knew of them. And when something happens at the ending of the movie, near the last 20 minutes, with, I won't say which one of the two characters, but one of those two characters, it's just like, oh shit, we're kind of thrown into it. It reminded me of a scene in Halloween 2018 where like, why would this character do this? Like, we haven't established this yet. So for me, it's 8.5 out of 10. What am I reviewing next? Am I reviewing? I don't think I'm reviewing any other movies at home soon. So the next film you'll probably see a review for is Shang-Chi, coming out in about less than a week. I think it's about 5 days from now. I have a lot of work in college. So I have college every day, Monday through Thursday this week. And I'm scheduled for work every day. I've never had this before. Every day except on Thursday. So that's why I'm saying Shang-Chi. And I will get to go to the movies with my friends Tuesday because work is earlier in the day as well as college. So, but fuck, man. Thursday is going to be my only free day. It's going to be so exhausting this week. A lot to do. I have work tomorrow, early in the morning. So thank God I had time to review this. So check out both Vacation Friends and Candyman. They're both recommendations. Vacation Friends is at home. You might even like it more than me. So the fact that it's at home on Hulu. If you have Hulu, not hard to check out. Candyman, if you don't see it in theaters, and you're a giant horror fan, and you feel safe to go to theaters and you skip it, you're missing out. I'm telling you. If you don't feel safe to go to theaters and you're a horror fan and you do want to see Candyman, you definitely will check it out at home. I'm sure you should check it out at home. If you're not a fan of horror, I would still recommend checking it out, because sometimes horror films can surprise you. I know my mom's not the biggest horror fan. That's like her least favorite genre, probably. But there have been films she loves, and I'm sure once we see this one, I think she'll really like this one. So yeah, Candyman, 8.5 out of 10. Vacation Friends, 6.5 out of 10. Shang-Chi review, since I have work Friday morning, my Shang-Chi review will probably come on Friday. It will probably come on Friday night, I expect. So, yeah, that's all I have to say, and goodbye.
Jackpot. The Devil's Dick. Most potent magic mushroom on Earth.
I ate it.
Why?
You told me to.
I didn't say eat it.
Man, everything you touch, turn into drugs.
I will.